Hey guys, I'm back yet again, and I'm, still sad about WOTV GL just going away. Earlier this week, I guess during the weekend, I got to play a little bit before it went away. But what I want to show, and the first thing I want to say is, to everybody that's basically done with the game, I completely understand. That's how video gaming is. At one point, you're just done. And what I do want to show is that just in case, you were thinking like, I wouldn't mind having WOTV on my phone. I've been really bored of like this other game or something, if you moved on to another game. And you've been thinking like, hey, maybe I'll just download WOTV JP, right? It's really not hard to download WOTV JP. You just need to download the QOO app and you can install it. And what I'm going to show very, very quickly is the way that you would log in to an existing WOTV account that you're gonna, if you get one from G2G. So you click this button down right, it'll open up this menu. You click this here, this first button, and then you've got your Square Enix account option plus player ID. So you accept this wonderful text, and this is what you're basically going to receive when you purchase is a player ID and password, and you punch it in, and that's it. You're in the account. And then you can just create yourself a Square Enix account, which just requires one email. And it's very straightforward. I do think from emulator, it's not going to work creating a Square Enix account. From your phone, it's going to work every single time. But from the emulator, I've ran into like error messages. And what I just want to show very, very quickly is, we're on the website G2G. And we just did a quick G2G search for War of Divisions, and it brought me to this category. And you've got lots of different potentials, right? And you've even got like, just look at this, right? 600,000 Visior stones for like $2, right? This could even be good for like just having a random alt account. But if you want to get a little bit more viz, it's not going to cost you all that much, right? I think like one of the ones that I was getting, like this one, right? 950 viz, up to 950 viz, between 910 and 950, right? This one, 910 to 960, 75, and it's only 14 US dollars, right? I think they have like, they have some different type of selection, like these ones, they're advertising them with like like a couple of limited units, but realistically, like that means nothing, right? That legitimately means nothing, right? I don't know what the difference would be between this one and another. Oh, this one's actually dog. I guess they built Una on this account. Alstrius, Alstria, I think that's Astrius. I guess they like actually played this account a little bit. Interesting stuff. But yeah, if ever you're thinking like maybe I want to play JP, I highly recommend getting one of these accounts. It just makes the initial, it makes basically playing the game so much easier, because you can just get everything that's useful in the shops. You can just get them, right? You can build a team with this amount of viz, and this is no progress, right? So you can farm the story and farm everything there is to farm in the game and go way above 1 million Visior if you didn't spend anything. But most of us that got these accounts, of course, the point is to start pulling units, start building them, and so on and so forth, and enjoy the game from there, right? But even as an ultra casual, this is by far the best option. You know, it's a small investment, it's really not a lot. Just use your credit card. This vendor is very trusted. They have like, I've never heard of one person complaining about this vendor. And damn, this one has up to 1 million. That's kind of crazy actually. Coin's good. Coin's God. This one's actually pretty crazy. 1 million viz. That's very nice. That must be like close to that, over 1,800 logins for sure. And yeah, you know, if you're thinking about just testing the waters for JP, you can dip your toe in with a very small amount, like $2 account, $3 account. You can buy like a fully loaded 1 million Visior account. And this dude's selling like an actual built account. That's kind of crazy. This dude's actually selling like a crazy account, but he wants like real money for this shit. He'll share any questions, you know. So this is like a real account. New Earth Gunner level 140. Yeah, that's not that good. Got some reincarnated units and all that. Wouldn't buy that one, just personal preference. But that's just what, you know, what you can expect, right? You can go real cheap, you can go midway, but you can get so much stuff, right? That you're literally capable. A bunch of close to 1 million accounts. You end up really being capable of actually making something enjoyable, right? Because from my personal opinion, if you start fresh, you're very likely gonna end up burning out, right? Because the initial burst of stuff that you get from, like, let's say clearing the campaign, that's not gonna last you that long. That's like 3, 4, 5, 6 units, and then you're basically waiting on stuff to trickle in, right? And you're just gonna be so far behind. You're never really gonna have anything substantial or competitive, right? You're not gonna be anywhere close to what you used to be. But if you get one of these, you'll have like 1,500 rainbow spheres, over 300 fucking blossoms of paradise, right? You'll have a bunch of tickets for awakening materials and all that stuff. You just have so much stuff that you can hit the ground, and within like 1 month of playing with one of these accounts, depending on what's available, right, you can build something very competent where you can at least go into chill mode and not really stress that much about the game, because you have at least, like, you know, a bunch of URs that are maxed out that you can just play and do the basics, right? And then anytime you want to pull and build something, boom, you can just do that, right? And it's really not much of an investment. It's really not much of an investment, especially if you're used to spending money on the game, like, you know, buying those pack H's or whatever for $60. This is not even one pack H, and you will get a massive head start. And I personally, in the guild that I'm playing in, I have seen many players who started fresh that are burnt out, that don't really, that have quit, essentially, that have stopped playing, that has said, yo, I'm good, I'm just gonna give up now, because I don't want to be in this, basically in this position where even if I wanted to get this new unit, I'm not gonna have the rainbow spheres to max them out, I'm not gonna have the Visior to pull the vision card, and I'm just gonna have to be in that position where some of us used to be way back in the day, where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna have to like not do anything for 2-3 months just to save viz for so I can, go back to playing, build a new character, right? But with these accounts, you don't have to stress about that. And the wonderful thing about these accounts is, let's say you play one of these accounts, and you're fed up with it. Well, it really wasn't that much, right? Like $23, and that's all the investment that you've made, right? You don't have to spend viz in game. You don't have to spend money, in game, right? In order to benefit from all of this crap, right? You don't need to spend money to buy a level 120 when in the elemental shops every week you could buy I think up to 200 shards now. So let's say you have a Sadali and a Narsh on your account, right? Well, you can actually max those things out within like 2 or 3 weeks. You can max them out and just buy a bunch of shards for whatever unit you feel like playing, right? And of course, you can just keep in touch with WOTV. There are a couple of guilds like Cayenne, like Vision Seekers, which is a combination of two global guilds. I think they're like silver. And some people are eventually perhaps gonna trickle in now that WOTV Global is completely gone. And there are enough of these accounts to go around. And you could really take these things really far if you wanted to. You could even go as far as, say, you buy 2 accounts and you could rotate them AFK. Now the way the game works is there's 5 times drops for Gil when you AFK 2 weeks. So that can amount to like 7 million gold or whatever, 7 million gil each time you do that, and that'll give you a ton of breathing room to actually just develop a bunch of old stuff for entirely free, right? In my mind, right, if 30-40 global players grab these accounts, that's a competitive guild within like 3-4 months, right? I already feel like my account that I took from one of these Chinese farmers or whatever the fuck, my account is already competitive. And let's say like JP anniversary comes around, right? And for example, they introduce characters that are a grade above the rest, right? They essentially reset the meta with new units going forward. Well, that'll be very easy for me. If I don't waste all my viz by then, that'll be very easy for me to just get right into it, because I have like 500,000 viz left, and then I've got like maybe an extra 50 to 100,000 left that I could farm, and I'm probably not going to be spending all that much from now until the anniversary, which should be within like 4 or 5 months, because who knows, right? This game might EOS, after the 6th anniversary, but it might last another entire year. So we might go from 6th to 7th anniversary, and if they are going to EOS it, then there's a possibility that we'll see another power creep, right? And then with one of these accounts, you're really set to take on that power creep and become actually very strong. And even myself, like, I don't even have the most meta team, and I'm still very, very strong. Just because I have the units, they're mildly reincarnated, and I've got vision cards and all that stuff. And it cost me hardly anything to put it all together. I just had to stop playing global, switch over to playing JP, buy one of these accounts, and then that's it. So I just wanted to talk about that now that global EOS has hit at long last, after 2 months of waiting for it. I just wanted to make this quick video because I have talked about this as EOS was announced. I made a video saying, look, this is what I thought was interesting about trying out JP, is that you can get a really solid head start in the game. and it has proven to be very, very well, like a good decision, especially compared to just creating a brand new account, right? A brand new account, I cannot emphasize how much more roadblocked you're going to be, especially going down the stretch, right? Like, you build 4 units and 4 vision cards, and that's basically going to be it, right? And think about how much stuff you need in the game in order to have a competent account. You need to have MR units leveled up to fill in the gaps for your URs that you don't have yet. You need to have lots of UR units. You just need so much, right? And it costs a lot of resources, and it's designed that way to make people spend. But if you just bypass that and get one of these accounts, then you have a massive bank of this stuff that you don't need to actually buy with real money just to be able to play, because that's the trap, right? That is the trap. The game wants you to spend, so they limit these resources. They don't just give them away, let you farm them. They limit them to make you want to spend money. And if you spend a small amount of money here, you will at least be eliminating that potential trap that you will be in, where the only way you can get more resources is by spending money. And on JP, spending money is not like it was on Global. On Global, we got discounted packs. You do not get that on JP. You just don't. You just do not. The packs are expensive. It's the same value in terms of money, like coin for coin, as the just the rack rates, the rates that you would see when you click the little plus sign and you look at all the regular packs. It's the same thing. And that's the last thing that you would want to be doing in a game that's going to be hitting the EOS, sooner rather than later, right? Like, we're probably way beyond the halfway point of this game. There might be, I think best estimates, right? A generous estimate would be 7th anniversary is that's it, right? We get a 7th anniversary, and then we're gonna start seeing EOS imminently. That I think is the educated guess. Now, it's possible that the game does go on beyond that. That's always gonna be a possibility, but that's a generous guess, right? And a more, like, I think, realistic approach is that it could be, we could see the 6th anniversary, which is coming within like 4 or 5 months for JP, and then we could start seeing, the end of the road be imminent, right? I think it all depends on, Gumi launching a new game. Once they launch a new game, I think they will start to phase out FFBE first. And once we see FFBE, it might be the same thing for WOTV. WOTV might be, 6 months later, right? It's hard to say at this point, because I think this game on JP is still doing okay. But how good is it? How much is it gonna keep up now that we've kind of built this meta out, right? Where we've seen all of the, like, new gen units. We've seen so many of them by now that we're kind of back to that initial point way back in the 2nd and 3rd year, where why would I, build this unit when I can just play the units I already have, and just, they're doing just fine still. So I don't need, I'm not really incentivized to play these newer units. And yeah, those are just some of my thoughts. Again, I completely understand, to all the people that are just fully done with this game. I totally get it, right? I don't even know, myself, how long I'm going to keep playing. But when EOS was announced, I definitely didn't feel like stop playing at this point in my life. I did want to keep playing and keep seeing, the progression, and keep building these new units, because they are sweet, Like all of the new units like Sadali, Shreka, Gilgamesh, Lucille, all of these units are exception. I think they're well designed, like not only artistically, like their looks of the character, but their actual kits are really well designed, and they've learned so much from designing units over the years that now we're kind of hitting that sweet spot where a lot of the units are just very well designed and well thought out, and they even are designing units to work well together but not work perfectly. All these small little things that just make the game still enjoyable. And despite there being some difficulties playing the Japanese version of the game, I think it's extremely playable. Like if I were to give it a metric on a scale of 1 to 10 how playable it is, I would have to go with at least like a 7.5, an 8, an 8.5, in between that range. I would have to say it's very, very playable. There are some situations when, yeah, I have a hard time, let's say like just on the fly customizing trust stones. Yeah, that's hard, right? On the fly knowing what ability does what, yeah, that's hard. That requires, you to look at WOTV calc. But the game helps you a lot by having like recommended abilities, by just throwing on auto, all these things that make the game still very, very playable. But of course, it's never going to be the same as it was when everything's in English and you just know, right? You end up kind of memorizing things like, oh yeah, my group buff cost 34 TP, right? So whenever I'm doing a manual mission, I know, okay, yeah, that's my group buff, right? That's Shreka's group buff. It costs 36, right? You get used to these things if you play the game, right? You just memorize different things, right? Now I know abilities more by the number than by the actual name of the spell, by the actual placement of the spell. I just memorize the numbers, right? Like, oh, 22 TP is like the heal, right? Or you just kind of get familiar with the game in a different way, because thankfully they do use numbers, right? If they didn't use numbers and everything was just Japanese numbers, yeah, that would take it down like 2 or 3 notches in the playability department, where it would probably be a 6 or a 6.5, maybe even lower than that, if they didn't use actual numbers, right? And they use other texts that are readable, like AP, HP, and stuff like that, right? But whenever, like, people are going through their buff cycles, yeah, good luck figuring out what buffs they're putting on besides just guessing, right? Like, yeah, that's probably her whatever buff, right? That's probably her supplicant job buff, right? That's, but whenever there's actual, numbers, then yeah, you can, your brain realizes like, hey, that's the buff that has numbers in it. And that's basically all I just wanted to show. And I hope you guys, if you do want to play JP, I really recommend this. Like, I cannot recommend this enough. Every person, like on the Discords that I've seen that bought an account, is way, way, way more enjoying the game, because you just have such a large margin to actually engage with the game compared to starting completely fresh. Starting completely fresh is extremely, extremely more challenging than buying one of these accounts. There are so many things that these accounts have that you will never be able to get as a fresh account. Even if you were to play for another year, you will still not catch up to the amount of crap on these accounts. I mean, 1,500 rainbow spheres, over 300 blossoms. Remember that, all of the monthly logins, right? The monthly login rewards, the daily login rewards, that gives you a bunch of stuff. And you have like, 4 years of these login rewards just on one of these accounts, just waiting, because that's how they accumulate viz, right? They just log in every day for years. And imagine being this account, right? 600,000 stones for $3. That's like, 2, 3, 4 years worth of logging in, and you're pricing it at 358, because literally the market is is basically dead. Nobody buys these accounts, right? Because if you started playing on JP when the game was around, you know, back in the day, year 1, year 2, right? Your account is more valuable than this one, because even all of this viz isn't gonna, it's not gonna be as valuable as actually having it and having used it, right? Because there's a lot of other stuff that you get from playing the game that these accounts don't have, right? Like maxing out characters, like doing the hard quests and all these things, right? Like you're never gonna have the same amount of vision cards on a fresh account, no progress compared to an account that's been actually played for 4 years, right? It's night and day. Now, that being said, I'm just gonna leave it at that. You know, I tried talking about it on Reddit. I got the picture that the majority of people are pretty much done with the game, and I completely get it. I totally understand. But if you did have the thought of trying it out, you know, it's playable, right? From an enthusiast, giving it a 7.5 to 8.5 in terms of playability, you can go off of that, right? Even if you just want to be super casual, I think that you can still enjoy just spending, maybe like 20-30 minutes a day on this game, right? Because you don't really need to play it that much in order to have fun, right? You can just play it whenever you're extremely bored, right? Like, let's say you're in the bus traveling for 1 hour. Now you can go back to one of your old favorites, WOTV, from a completely fresh lens, and you can still have a little bit of enjoyment, a little bit of dopamine, right? You can enjoy it while it lasts, right? And yeah, I forgot to sort it by JP actually, because it's kind of funny that they still have the global ones for sale. Yeah, imagine buying a global account right now. Imagine that, right? Ah, yeah, that's basically it, my guys. See you in the next one. Take care of yourself.